Good morning. Hey, podium mic is working. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos. And a gray but lovely day, since those clouds mean some much needed precipitation on the way. I am Patrick Webb, and I'm the worship associate for today. Reverend John is out today, as is Nylea. To start the year off, we are welcoming Theresa Cull to speak for us this morning. So, as Unitarian Universalists, we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person and the interconnection of us all. Whoever you are, whomever you love, and wherever you are at this moment and wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. If you are joining us for the first time, online or in person, we invite you to talk with any of us after the service or return next week where Reverend John will be here and at the pulpit. If you're watching online, please sign our virtual guest book. There is a link in the notes below the video. Everyone is invited to the fellowship hall after the service for refreshments, coffee, and conversation. And again, welcome, and we're glad you're with us. So, I've misplaced the chalice lighter. It's right here. Oops. There we go. As I light the chalice, into this home we bring our hunger for awakening, we bring compassionate hearts and a will toward justice. Into this home we bring courage to walk after hard losses, and into this home we bring joy and a gratitude for ordinary blessings. By our gathering, we bless this place, and in its shelter, we know ourselves blessed. Let us open our minds and our hearts to one another as we worship on this beautiful morning. Please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 128. Please remain standing for our affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church, the quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve life in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. Thus do we covenant with each and with all. Please be seated. Candles have been lit this morning, and in large print, far enough for me to read from the stage. Wishing all a happy new year and wonderful 2023. So let us share a moment of silence. And now we'll turn it over to Theresa, who has a reading for us.
These are some words from Janet Reben. In this new year, may you have a deep understanding of your true value and worth, an absolute faith in your unlimited potential, peace of mind in the midst of uncertainty, the confidence to let go when you need to, acceptance to replace your resistance, gratitude to open your heart, the strength to meet your challenges, great love to replace your fear, forgiveness and compassion for those who offend you, clear sight to see your best and true path, hope to dispel obscurity, the conviction to make your dreams come true, meaningful and rewarding synchronicities, dear friends who truly know and love you, a childlike trust in the benevolence of the universe, the humility to remain teachable, the wisdom to fully embrace your life exactly as it is, the understanding that every soul has its own course to follow, the discernment to recognize your own unique inner voice of truth, and the courage to learn to be still. Our meditation hymn is number 352. You can remain seated. And then get up afterwards is welcome to. This is a book called I Voted, Making a Choice Makes a Difference. It's by Mark Schulman and Sergei Bloch. I know y'all probably will not be able to see the picture, so I'm just going to kind of read it. Which do you like better, apples or oranges? Markers or crayons? Trampolines or swimming pools? Some choices are easy to make, ice cream or onions. Some choices are harder, ice cream or cupcakes. Anytime you choose one thing instead of another, you can say that you voted for it. When you're the only one voting, you tend to get what you want. But people usually vote together. Imagine you're choosing a classroom pet. Everyone will be voting. And the pet you'll all get is the pet that most people vote for, even if it isn't the one you wanted. So if you want your choice to win, here's what you can do before everyone votes. No, bribery's not in here. You can let people know which choice you want. You can work with the people who want the same thing. You can talk to the people who want something different. Maybe you can change their mind. Maybe they will change yours. Then when it's time to vote, you vote. It's simple. Sometimes everyone knows what you chose. Sometimes it's a secret. But everyone's vote must get counted. And the winner is whatever got the most votes. Maybe your side will win, and maybe your side will not. But if you don't vote, you don't get to choose. And your vote might be the one that makes the difference. Win or lose, when everyone follows the rules, voting is fair for everyone. It's the same when grown-ups vote. Grown-ups vote for the people who help run our towns, our cities, our states, and our country. They could be mayors, governors, representatives, senators, or even the President of the United States. These people pass laws that can change the way we live. So we have to choose our leaders carefully because different leaders want different things. Some will do things you really, really like. There's a sign that says free for kids. Some will do things you really, really don't. Another sign that says no kids allowed. That's why it's important to choose the leaders we want. So we vote. We vote for candidates. A candidate is someone asking for your vote. How do you know which candidate will make the best choices? You listen. You read. You talk to the people you trust. Sometimes you can even ask the candidates yourself. Once you've had your 18th birthday, your name is added to the voting list. Then you can vote too. When it's election time, you might send your vote in the mail, or you might go to the nearest voting place. At every voting place, everyone stands in line. Everyone votes for a candidate, and someone wins. If you're old enough, it's important to vote. If you're not old enough, you know what to do. Listen, read, talk, ask, and tell someone who's old enough to bring you along on election day. When the voting is done, you might get a sticker, and that sticker will say, "I voted." When I retired in October 2020, I had no plans of pursuing another job. I had a long to-do list that included many home projects, a preschool to close, and family to spend time with. I was also still volunteering on the church board and as a youth advisor. And I wanted to play more golf, read more books, and hike more with my dogs. Running for county council was not on my to-do list. But I always say you should keep your options open because you never know what opportunity might present itself. Even if the first response I got when I told someone I was running for county council was, "That's a thankless job." I've heard that response more than once. So why did I decide to run for county council? I've been asked that a lot. Here's a verse from my annual letter, which is a summary of my past year in rhyme. On March 8th, I filed for office. Don't ask me what got into my head. I decided to run for county council rather than enjoying retirement instead. That still doesn't answer the question. So here's the elevator speech I wrote during the campaign. Hi, my name is Theresa Cull, and I'm running for Los Alamos County Council. I came to Los Alamos 39 years ago for a job at the laboratory, and I fell in love with this unique small town and its environment. I raised 2 children and volunteered or participated in many of their activities. I've also contributed to the community by serving on several boards and supporting our local small businesses. I'm a good listener, and I appreciate the diversity of opinions and needs in our community. As your county councilor, I will make decisions that address your concerns and move our county forward while maintaining the quality of life this town provides. I'm ready to work for you and would appreciate your vote this fall. Thank you. What about small businesses, affordable housing, a movie theater, the golf course? It would have to be a long elevator ride to include all of that, and we don't have tall buildings in Los Alamos yet. An article in the June 2022 AARP magazine actually helped reinforce my decision to run. It was titled, "Why to Keep Working After Retirement." It gave 8 reasons, only one having to do with money. Among them were a sense of community, a chance to give back, a sense of purpose, and serving the greater good. This article helped me understand why I saw public office as an opportunity and not just a thankless job. I attended more Friday concerts and went to Bathtub Row Brewing this summer more than I ever did before. Okay, the concerts were directly campaign related. The tub was mostly Jamie's fault because he turned 21 in March. But campaigning did get me out of the house a lot more. By the way, when I decided to run for county council, I did not know that there was a financial compensation for the job. I plan to keep track of my time so I can see what the hourly pay ends up being. When I made the decision to run for office, I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. I hadn't spent a lot of time participating in local governmental affairs, and I'd never run for office before, so I had a steep learning curve. Fortunately, I had a lot of people to advise and support me, and an uncontested primary, so I had time to figure things out. Preparing for forums and answering questions forced me to do a lot of research on certain topics, so I could sound somewhat intelligent. But this didn't really prepare me for politics. In politics, the right answer isn't always the right answer, or it's twisted and interpreted to mean something very different than you intended. My work at the laboratory actually helped me prepare for politics. When I worked at the lab, I used to have a saying, "If it makes sense, it can't be the right answer." I'll admit that was a bit of a joke, but at times it was definitely true at the lab, and it's definitely true many times in politics. During the campaign, there were some things that I said that made perfect sense to me, but were apparently offensive to some people. For example, when asked how I would make sure I listened to my constituents, I said that it wasn't only the people who yell the loudest that I need to listen to. I need to seek input from others as well. I'm still not sure why this was offensive, but when I was asked what I meant, I said that as a manager, I didn't just give a raise to the person who came into my office every day telling me what a great job they were doing. I have to consider the other workers as well to make sure that I'm making a fair decision. I also made a comment about county council meetings being painful that was considered offensive because some people thought I was discouraging people from participating in the meetings. I thought I was just stating the obvious and added that we needed to find ways for people to participate and provide input without actually having to attend the meetings, since most people are too busy to attend a 4-hour meeting on a Tuesday night. The other thing you have to do when you're running for office is talk about yourself. This includes your background, your community activities, and your interests and values. I actually felt like this was more important than showing my intelligence on local issues that may or may not be relevant during my tenure. I think I showed that in my elevator speech. But some people wanted to know exactly where I stood on a specific issue or how I might vote in a particular scenario. I hesitated when answering these questions because there are so many what-ifs that factor into a decision. And what I personally would do may not be the right thing for our county as a whole. I preferred to tell them who I was so they would hopefully trust me to make a good decision and represent their interests fairly. In the 7 principles in Word and Worship, the Reverend Theresa Cull provides this reflection on our 5th principle. In our religious lives, the democratic process requires trust in the development of each individual conscience, a belief that such development is possible for each of us, as well as a commitment to cultivate our own conscience. We could call it a commitment to the value of each person. In the words of Theodore Parker, democracy means not, I am as good as you are, but you are as good as I am. My connection with the sacred is only as precious as my willingness to acknowledge the same connection in others. That's the end of her reflection. As a reminder, our 5th principle is the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. Before I agreed to this talk, my recollection of the 5th principle was more about the democratic process than the right of conscience. In How to Get a Conscience by Julia Yakub, she defines conscience as the inner sense of right and wrong that guides your motives, what you think, and your actions, what you do. I think that when I was asked why I decided to run for office, some people wanted to know my motives, usually referred to as my platform, since I had no actions in public office for them to see. I did find myself committing to certain actions that reflected my values in my elevator speech as I got further into the campaign. I'm having difficulty believing some voters at the national level actually apply their conscience to the democratic process based on the people and issues they vote for. Or maybe their motives or where they get their belief of wrong and right are just so different from mine. Dante Quales Jr. commented in the Philippine Daily Inquirer that, quote, to sharpen our conscience or our ability to tell right from wrong, we must cultivate the habit of prayer, unquote. He believes that, quote, by listening to our conscience, which is God's voice in us, we will be able to discern faithfully who the best leaders really are, unquote. I believe religion has a major influence on some people's development of conscience, in both positive and negative ways. It's a lot easier for me to ascribe to the 5th principle within our own religion and congregation than on the larger scale. To make the right choices in life, Dr. Yakub actually recommends doing the following. 1, use reason as your conscience if you don't feel an immediate gut reaction. Ask, how would that make me feel? In other words, apply the golden rule. 2, think about the values and behavior of people you don't and do respect. She says to be wary of people who show by their words or actions that they lack a conscience. She calls them sociopaths. I won't mention any names. 3, educate yourself by reading about people who lived conscience-guided lives. And 4, this one's a little strange, practice tuning up your conscience by studying some unexpected sources of inspiration, such as fiction, films, and reality TV. In hindsight, maybe telling people who I am and what I value and expecting them to trust me to make the right decisions was somewhat naive. But I do think this was an okay strategy in a small town where I've had so much involvement in community activities. This strategy alone would definitely not have worked if I were running for higher office. The personal attacks at the higher level are something that I really want no part of. Unfortunately, some of these personal attacks have trickled into our local politics. There were times during the campaign when social media, including letters to the editor in our local papers, and comments at county council meetings got personal and ugly. That is not acceptable, although some people would say it's just part of the process. That was actually a response I received from a guy who thought it was okay to harass me when I was umpiring softball in Santa Fe. Debates and comments need to focus on the issues, not attack the people involved. In the end, we need to remember that we all live in this same small town and will likely see each other at the grocery store. Speaking of seeing each other, I do recognize that I'm now under a greater scrutiny than I may have been in the past. But this is really no different than my work experience at the laboratory. As a safety professional and a manager, it was very important to me to walk the talk. If I tell workers to wear protective equipment and follow the rules, I better not be observed doing otherwise, or I lose credibility. The same philosophy applies to the county council position. I've also had to up my wardrobe. I even accused someone in this congregation, who will remain nameless and is actually not here today, of being my personal fashion consultant because of her regular comments on what I'm wearing. And even though I tried to go to the grocery store early in the morning to avoid people, I realize I need to plan to be delayed in the future by a possible lengthy conversation with a constituent, which I will welcome even if I haven't had my coffee. I will say that even though I'm not a very social person, my favorite part of the campaign was meeting people at various events and while canvassing door to door. I put a lot of miles on my feet and my car, and I met some very interesting people. There was even one day when I only made it to 3 houses in 2.5 hours because of the conversations I had with 2 of the people on the list, and the third wasn't even home. This was also one of the most stressful parts of the campaign for me because I'm terrible with names. But I do remember the issues discussed, and I'm looking forward to hearing more because I really do want to make decisions that address your concerns and move our county forward while maintaining the quality of life this town provides. In closing, here's another verse from my annual rhymed letter. With canvassing and numerous events this fall, the campaign really picked up the pace. I guess I must have done something right since I was one of 4 to win the race. Happy New Year to you all.
Thank you, Theresa. So, as we close today, we will ask an offering. Our offering is an opportunity to share some of what we have with the wider world. Our partner for this month, for January, to the best of my, for January, is the Esperanza Shelter for Domestic Abuse Services. 100% of all offerings this month will be given to our partner. We will pass those, and please enjoy the offertory music. Before we conclude the service, I will remind you that our announcements and information about upcoming events can be found on the back of your order of service. For January, the first Friday dinner, join us use for dinner, fellowship, and conversation on Friday, January 6th at 5:30 at the China Palace, and the Sunday Forum on January 8th. We can also find announcements on our weekly emails, on our Facebook page, and this month's issue of The Voice. With that said, please rise in body and spirit for our closing hymn, number 131.
Some words from D. Simone. May light always surround you, hope kindle and rebound you. May your hurts turn to healing, your heart embrace feeling. May wounds become wisdom, every kindness a prism. May laughter infect you, your passion resurrect you. May goodness inspire your deepest desires. Through all that you reach for, may your arms never tire. Yeah, we get it. There it is. Thanks, everybody. Join us for coffee.